There's something very powerful and something that draws certain people into this area.
I felt I had a calling to come here, and I think many people that live here can share similar stories. They had a mission or a vision or an awareness.
Just as the mountains just loom larger as you come in, you just kind of get pulled into it in a way.
On the edge of the sun-graded Crestone mountain range in rural Saguache County sits an unusual HOA, technically a POA, Property Owners Association. It's called the Baca Grande.
This was put together in 1978 before the Colorado homeowners law ever existed. And so it has its own unique structure. Hi, I'm Leroy West, and I'm the Vice President of the Baca Grande Property Owners Association. When the POA was originally designed, it was designed to be like a little city because it was the middle of nowhere.
That was fairly popular in 1970 to do that kind of thing. Very little money, a matter of a few $100s to buy a lot and a dream. My name is John Rowe, and as far as the Eagle goes, I'm a reporter here, and my beat is the POA.
John writes for the Crestone Eagle, and he lives in the POA.
They bought up a huge amount of acres, put in a ton of roads, some infrastructure. Also, they just started marketing these lots, and I have no idea how they did it.
Full-page newspaper ads ran in several states, selling land and a lifestyle. The Baca Grande brand of living combined untouched, magnificent nature with a golf course, tennis courts, cowboy hats for the visiting kids, and a luxury inn overlooking a man-made lake. They called it a lifetime vacation.
I don't think anybody got hugely rich about it because they left. And it ended up being a place where itinerant owner-builders could build because the very few building regulations.
Once the developers gave up on selling the resort-style dream, the company's owner, Maurice Strong, and his wife, Hannah, set out to remake the Baca Grande into a spiritual refuge.
He and his wife gave big tracts of land to spiritual centers. They're up on what's called the Holy Highway. There's some impressive buildings up there. So we ended up with a lot of people who like to live by them and were employed by those spiritual centers.
The Baca Grande that has taken shape is one that has depended on property owner dues to maintain miles of unpaved roads, to staff a fire station and an ambulance, and to pay a staff to manage it all. Those dues are about to go up 30% to about $640 a year, and residents are debating whether they even want to keep the POA at all.
I do think this is a crossroads because it's really time that we have to get into the 21st century.
I was a firefighter for 24 years, and I know that if a mobile home catches on fire, if you're not there in the first 5 minutes, you pretty much lost the home. Well, that's what our homes are. This is called Lake No Lake, by the way. It was a wonderful lake when they started the POA. They tried to repair the bottom, and then it never held water after that. I'm Eddie Byerly, and we are in Casita Park. So I'm taking you over to another issue we have. We are right at 8 miles away from the rest of the POA. So, I mean, I've always lived on the wrong side of the tracks. So I'm on the wrong side of the creek. Crestone Creek kind of divides us. And that's okay. We chose to be here, and we are so grateful to be here.
The massive Baca Grande is divided into distinct sections.
So we have the Casita Park, which is a mobile home park. They call it the mobile home estates, actually. And then there's the large area called the grants. So whenever they buy out there, they're literally off the grid. And then there's the Chalet 1, Chalet 2, and Chalet 3. We feel that we're not getting the same attention as the chalets or the rest of the POA. The park up in the chalets has, 4 acres of grass, and this is what we have. We just have rocks that get just as hot as the metal does.
This barren playground has become a rallying point for Casita Park neighbors who are focused on improvement. Back when the Baca Grande started, homeowners here had a lakefront view, and the luxury inn was in walking distance to grab dinner and a drink. That's all gone now, and residents feel left behind.
So these trees were planted, I'm going to say maybe 20 years ago by one of our members. And at some point we were told, or she was told, it's using too much water, you have to stop watering the trees. And so now they're dead.
The people in Casita Park, we feel like we're low man on the totem pole. Chickens! Come on, chickens. That's Speckles. I'm Valerie Heronchak. I moved here last November, so I'm a newcomer to the area. You know, first thing my neighbors do is introduce themselves, which, again, that doesn't happen in New Jersey. This is a whole different culture than where I'm from.
What does the POA do for Casita Park?
They mow the green belt. That's about it, as far as I can tell.
Of course, our homes are not $500,000 and $1 million homes, but if you're paying the same assessment, it seems like you ought to have the same care.
Some homes in the chalets have sold in recent months for more than $600,000.
A lot of people bought up those lots, and now they have a large house, many acres around them that they own, and they do. They pay the same assessments as somebody with a quarter of an acre and a 500 or 600 square foot modular home. There's been a lot of things that people grumble about, and that's certainly one of the bigger ones. I do know that the president of the board lives there, and then I've talked to people who have been here for 25 years, and I ask them, have you ever known anybody who's lived in Casita Park who's been on the board? And they all say no.
I know the chalets get, most of the attention, and we're kind of over there, the small guy. My name is Diego Martinez, and I'm the president of the Baca Grande Property Owners Association.
Diego says he thinks things are getting better in Casita Park, and he thinks the community should talk about whether it's fair for everyone to pay the same dues.
My personal opinion would it'd be more equitable to do it on a tax assessed basis, so they can. If a house is valued by the tax, we can do something similar. There's more logistics into doing that approach. It's a little bit harder.
Frankly, that's something that's out of our control. That's something that's in the original governing documents, and we don't have enough of a quorum, enough participation to change that. There's actually some real good reasons to look at. I'm not saying how to change it, but to change it in some way that kind of evolves it, makes it more responsive to today, rather than whatever was imagined in '78. But we're kind of handcuffed by our Constitution, which is our governing docs.
This conversation has been going on for years. One longtime resident showed us a newsletter written in 2002. It said board members wanted to study a more equitable dues schedule that would be fair to all members. And it mentioned Casita Park residents wanted their playground improved. Again, that was 20 years ago. Some say they've waited long enough for the POA to act.
And it's not the current board members' fault. They're just the current round. This has been going on for decades. They understand that inequity and they want to try to change that. But the only way that we can change that is becoming a town. I'm Desiree Marceau, and I live in Chalet 2 of the Baca Grande POA.
Desiree Marceau is leading an effort to create the town of Baca Grande. She started down this path in the midst of a 3-year legal battle with the POA.
This was the first addition that I put onto this main thing. So this is all traditionally framed. I bought land here and started building a house. I've never built anything in my entire lifetime other than 3-layer cakes. So it's been a learning process. Just to figure out how to do it, and then as a woman to literally do it with your own 2 hands. Those straw bales are 40 pounds, so you think as a woman lifting, 200 straw bales by herself and, creating the walls, I've ended up injuring my hands. I started the process of building my house before I actually had my permit from the POA, but I was also in the process of applying and going through the application process. Every time I would submit my application, there was something that was missing or something that was incorrect.
Desiree says her plans have since been approved, and she believes the whole legal fight could have been avoided with mediation. And she questions why the POA chooses to spend money suing members like her when the budget is so tight.
That's not my experience, and that's not my observation, and not my understanding of history. In fact, if you look at it, the largest amount of money the POA has spent on legal has been spent by members of the POA who are litigious coming after us and representing themselves, and then we have to pay a lawyer to defend us.
They want me to pay the legal fees from the whole battle, and that's where we're kind of sitting right now, is an argument over that.
Homeowners Association.
I started looking for ways to basically dissolve the POA. I just basically started Googling, like, how do you start your own town? It took me about 9 months to create the petition.
Well, I signed the petition. I was intrigued by this idea because the way it's set up is you turn in the petition and the court decides whether or not you meet the minimum requirements to incorporate, and then calls for an election. So this would be the first time the community could vote for or against incorporation. My name is Lisa Syriacs. So here's a map of the main part. We moved here in 1998. So what does that add up to? 24 years? I would have to say most people complain about the POA and have for quite some time. And I think the biggest reason is it's fairly arbitrary and capricious in how it applies the rules. I mean, there's just been a decline in services. The number of amenities have been reduced.
The POA has filed a motion in court to dismiss the petition. The judge hasn't ruled yet, but board members say they're open to the possibility of becoming a town.
As time has gone on, I've come to see that it's really about providing the same services in the most efficient and effective way to the same group of people who are paying for them. The point now, though, is that we want to make sure that if that were to be the best path forward, it's done in a very deliberative and cooperative way, so that we can really know that we're not like tearing the house down before we get the new house built, or that if we're building an addition to the house, it really fits well.
I know some people love it, some people hate it, some people are kind of interested, think it has merit and want more information.
As a municipality, we have many revenue streams to bring in that we can use to improve conditions in our community.
Supporters of a new town are holding weekly public meetings, trying to make their case to undecided neighbors who may soon vote on the issue.
Yeah, everybody in town is talking about it. The POA can't restructure the bylaws to make it more equitable. A lot of people think that the POA needs to be dissolved completely, but I'm not sure we'd be trading one for something better. And I mean, municipality, you still have the same expenses.
Boy, we want more information. What's going to happen to our taxes? What's going to happen to this? And so there's a lot of specifics that we want.
I think the thing that's the most appealing about it is that it would be more of a democracy.
Because it's very difficult.
With the quorum situation and the way that the system is set up, I just don't feel like the changes that people are wanting are going to be able to be made.
I'm really concerned for here. I'm in my 70s now. I've retired from the college. I would like to stay here. I am very, very much in favor of the possibility of this going to a vote. Is like one of our last great hopes.
It's a simple majority, so if 20 people show up and 11 people say yes, then we're a town. If for some reason it doesn't go through, we would just try it again in a year. I mean, it's not like I'm going to give up on it. There's an awful lot of people in the community who are not happy with the way things are, but for whatever reason, it's hard to get people to stand up, and it's like, people, you have a voice, and there's a reason why, God or Great Spirit gave you a voice. You're supposed to use it.